Hello, a notch higher YouTube family. This is Jasmine coming with another episode. I'm really excited in the space that we have today to create or to cultivate a space where healthy relationship skills can be learned, developed, practiced, and to ultimately thrive. So today I am joined by a very special guest. We have Michelle Keiss. She is a licensed therapist and family coach. So I want to welcome her today. Thank you so much for coming, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Great. So Michelle has already given me a tip. I'm going to be looking at this camera as much as possible, straight at the camera. This is going to be me practicing doing something different. But I'm laughing internally because this feels so uncomfortable and it just feels so unnatural. That's the word I would use. But if I'm looking directly at Michelle, this is what we're going to do. And I say that specifically because sometimes in life, that's what it is. It's not something that feels natural, but if it's something that's better for yourself or the other person involved, sometimes we have to practice. So that's what we're going to do today. So I have Michelle on the show again today. Thank you again for coming, because I wanted people to know that there is a such thing as a therapist who has brown skin and the importance of having therapy and even coaching. But I wanted you to share your story, one, how you became a therapist, and just to give us a background about you and what you do. So take it away.
Yeah. So that's like, it's so funny when you ask that question, like, what's a therapist and how do you get there? It's first of all, I want to say it's such a long process that people don't even realize, where it starts or how, it goes. And sometimes there's people, even watching this who want to be a therapist and really trying to figure out what that looks like. So I'm going to just share my story.
Okay.
So this was over, I would say like 12 years. It was like 12 years ago.
Okay.
I actually lived in New York City. I was an actress, and I was doing teaching. I know I was doing teaching, what we call teaching artist work. So I have a
kind of form of therapy.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it started. So pretty much through most of my life, I've worked with kids, but I've always loved arts. I love the arts. I'm the one in the family that does all the acting and all the drama. But this was like 12 years ago, and I was in New York City, and I ended up getting a job as a teaching artist where I was working with kids and families, doing a lot of dance and acting, but in a framework that would have them work together as a team and provide some leadership skills that will happen as a family, because a lot of times as families we're all over the place, and
for sure.
We're not communicating right. And so at that time I got into a program that really helped families to do it, and I would hear such great feedback from a lot of the families. They would be like, oh my gosh, I feel like this was fun. And I feel like I was able to talk better. And I was getting really bored with doing like acting and theater, and I wanted to make a difference. And at this time, I actually met my husband, we've been married for like 12 years. It's been
long. It's been that long.
It was before 12 years. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So I was, getting married and all this, so everything was going on, but I was really questioning what I wanted to do. And we actually thought about moving to Florida during that time. And so I was like, okay, well, I moved to Florida, maybe I could try to work for Disney. I could do all these things, but I really I started researching being a therapist. And there was a program that had marriage and family therapy. And so I applied. I got in, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Wow.
Well, because as a therapist, you're not only helping people throughout their life, like create this journey that they need to go on, but you're also for your own self.
Right. You go through that process yourself, right?
Yeah. So, and And actually, when you're in a therapy program, they encourage that. They encourage you to do counseling, either within the program or outside of the program. They encourage you. There's a lot of like experiential things that help you to work together as a team. And you just go through this journey of learning who you are as a person.
Now, I have a question with that. How do you feel that helped you in getting you through to where you are now? Like, what would you consider that value add for you?
I think there is this, it's really important to be self-aware. Whatever you're doing, whether you're with your family, whether you're at work, it's important to be self-aware and to be honest with yourself. And I'll be honest that that takes a lot of bravery.
It really does.
You got to look in the mirror and you've got to say, wow, I really need to work through some things.
Right.
And it may not be everyone else, because that tends to happen a lot.
Yes.
That tends to happen where it's this person, it's that person.
Right.
Yes. Everybody does their
contribute. Yes. Yes.
But we also have to figure out what part we're playing. And
that is the bravery. Yes. Like you said, wow.
Yeah. And I think this applies for women, without saying you're a bad person, So
say that again, shame. Please. Yes. Say that again. Because that's a huge part.
You gotta look in the mirror and say, okay, hey, I need to work on this.
Okay.
Without saying that you're a bad person.
So, let's practice, because I've been looking at the camera for a while. So I am going to look in the mirror, which is not the camera, and we're going to practice. So look at me, not looking. Jasmine, this is very new. So it's very unnatural. You are not a bad person. You just have to continue to practice. And I'm not being facetious when I say this, everyone, but I think it's that type of thing that we don't implement. We say like, oh, that's just little, but if we don't practice somewhere, we're not going to practice anywhere. So I'm glad you said that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at any person is pretty successful, sports players, anyone, it's a lot right now. There's this kind of feeling that everybody wants to be successful. I want to be successful. I want to be a millionaire.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yes. My best self, yes.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that we're all getting to a point that we want to better ourselves. But the first step that you usually take, you have to do, is that self-awareness. And then being okay with what you just did is practicing.
Yes.
And that goes with a lot of patience too. So I would say that was my biggest takeaway from, first of all, being a therapist, is there's a lot of self-awareness, a lot of practice, and a lot of patience.
Okay.
And you need to have that with yourself, and you also need to have that with your clients.
Okay. That's good.
It's like I'm making this up as the SPP.
I love it. I love it.
Self-awareness, practice, and have patience.
And it's interesting, like you said, you have to have it with yourself and with your clients, but then I can imagine that's how it runs into for yourself and with your family, yourself and your spouse, yourself and your child, yourself and your coworker. It's self-awareness, practice, and patience with myself. Then that's how I'm going to integrate it in relating to other people. So I'll let you continue with your story. So excuse me.
Yeah. No, I think this is such a great conversation, because that's what happens along your journey through your life. So I'm very honest with people about my age. This year I'm turning 40. Woo! And
welcome to the 40 club, ma'am.
Right?
It's only up from there.
Yes. So it's the reason.
Look, and awesome. Awesome.
Thank you. So do you. We're, I love it. And so
yes.
I feel that so when I look back at that point of starting school and going through that, because what happens is, and this is of course for the people who want to be a therapist.
Okay.
You go through a program that's 2.5 years.
Okay.
You do a practicum, you do an internship.
Okay.
You do all of that. And then you still, after you graduate, have to do another 2 years of what we call like kind of, it's different at each state, but it's an intern. You could do like an internship, and this is paid. Some people have like, they call it associate's license.
Okay.
So you go through that experience and you do that for 2 years, and you're learning. You're really learning.
Okay.
And then you have to take a test. And then you have to like have a supervisor, a bunch of forms.
Like supervisor training too, or be supervised? Okay.
Yeah, you have to be supervised by someone for 2 years. And then after that, you graduate. And after you've kind of graduated that process, you apply for licensure. And so then you can become licensed in that state, you know, within your field. And so once you have licensure, it's great because all you're just doing is keeping up CUs. And so for me, I had various different jobs. I worked in a private practice for a little bit. In Florida, and this was in Florida. I worked in a place that works with kids within the school system. I worked in a place that has kids on the spectrum, where a lot of kids who are like, I mean, lots of aggressive behaviors, and you have to almost like physically restrain them.
Wow.
Yeah, so that happens especially a lot for our parents who are dealing with kids in the home, who have any sort of, whether they're on the autism spectrum or other diagnosis. There are a lot of children who are really dealing with their emotions. And so in order for them to not hurt other people or to hurt yourself, you might have to put them in a hold. And so that is like a whole nother, so I even have a lot of experience training parents how to navigate that. And how to emotionally regulate themselves, and then also to do that with their kids. So that has started to be my experience, is really working with families who are dealing with kids of all different ages, who are really having difficulty with their emotional regulation. And helping them with that. So that's kind of how it's been through the process. And so I ended up, the point that I'm at right now is just, you kind of look back and you're like, wow, I've learned all these things.
Exactly. Like, yes. And you're on a wide spectrum of like learning too. Like it's almost like you have such a wide spectrum of what you've learned. So with the family therapy, again, with autism being at a different spectrum in my mind, not that one is better or worse, it's more of there's more intensity is what I would guess that you had to be trained on, or you were taught on, because regulating emotions from that dynamic is not that it's more, but it can be more, right? You would think in that type of setting or that type of dynamic.
And to be honest, if you talk to any parents who have kids that are on the spectrum, or any kids who have any sort of like that aggressive behavior in the home, or little ones like toddlers who are having tantrums, that is a lot for a parent to deal with, and specifically the moms. So what I started finding was that moms were really dealing with a lot. Not saying the dads weren't, but it was
there's definitely a difference. I can imagine.
There's a different level, because you're not only, the mom is only dealing with all the things that are going on with the kid, but also dealing with her own internal struggles as a mom, and trying to take care of herself, but like, I'm not going to even do that. And really thinking about the kid. And then they're thinking about maybe they have other family members they're taking care of. And so I saw that a lot over the years. But then it really became evident when I became a mom.
Got it. Talk a little bit more about that, and how that world collided as a Up and coming 40-year-old.
Yes. So my daughter is 4.
Okay. Okay.
And I knew I'm an only child, but I knew that I wanted kids. And
okay. And she's an adorable daughter, by the way, everybody. Adorable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, she is, I mean, she's definitely a blessing in so many ways, but one of the ways is how it really taught me how to truly take care of myself.
Wow.
So what happened was, I had her, we had a, regular birth process, no complications or anything.
Wow.
Nice. And I found myself after she was born, like, how do I navigate all this? Like, I am a person, like, I'm pro self-care. When I always want to take care of me, I'm into a lot of meditation, I do yoga, like, but then I'm taking care of this child. And I do have support, which is awesome.
Very helpful, yes.
But then at the same time, I'm having my own internal struggles.
Wow.
I ended up, even as a therapist, having to leave a job that I went back to. I went back to the job where I was restraining those little ones. Okay. And I one day was coming from work. I was going to work, actually. Okay. My husband had been traveling for work. He was out, and I went into work. And I'm ready, but I'm not feeling good. I'm like having a little like my chipper self. Right. I walk in, they open the door. They're like, "Hi, Michelle." And I think I was like late for work, and I'm usually an on-time person. I came in, "Hi, Michelle." I broke down and cried. Wow. Broke down and cried. Wow. I was like, all of the
you're like, emotion, I wasn't expecting that.
Every emotion I had just started coming in, and I was like, wow. And I knew something was not right.
Right. Because it's almost like if we don't allow it or process it or acknowledge it, your body or something, it just will explode in a way. It will come out. I don't want to just say explode. It will come out. We can't press down those emotions for too long. So wow.
Yep. I always say this. It's like, I know in Michigan it's pop. I know soda for some people. Okay. So your emotions are coming in, and they're that pop bottle, and they are just coming in and it's filling up that pop bottle. And then next thing you know, it could be something small as someone opening the door and saying, "Hi, Michelle, how are you?"
Exactly.
My gosh. And I'm like, dude. And I was like, I went into my car. She was like, "Go," because she knew me. She knew that I was always coming in. I was together. I was smiling. Yes. And she was like, "This is nuts. There's something off."
Right.
Like, go in your car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went in and looked for a therapist. I'm a therapist, and I knew something was not right. And I booked an appointment I think that day or like the next day. Wow. And I started revisiting like myself. And there was something that was really powerful with the conversation with that therapist was about, I hadn't given myself permission to just like kind of like not be okay. To understand that I was really like, or permission to relax. It was something about I was telling myself, you have to this, you have to that, you gotta do that. You gotta
shoulds, yes.
Yep. And so it was just so 4 years ago, there was this journey that I went on where from that moment, I ended up actually having to leave that job, and I took off. I took off, I had to take off like a couple of months. I just had to really reconnect.
Like that self-awareness too, that you connected, with you.
Come back together. And then a couple months later, I went into a job. I got a job through someone else as a therapist. I had to finish I was in that point where I was trying to finish my hours for my that was the point. I had already finished my hours. I already got my license when my daughter was born, but I needed to start working. Right. I needed to start working again. So I tried different things and actually led myself to a job that was really awesome, where I worked in a placement where I worked with kids who, again, were dealing with a lot of these issues where they were aggressive in the home or maybe aggressive to themselves, working with families. And so I did that for a while, but that led me to a journey of several years of being with parents who were tapped out, burnt out, stressed out, didn't know what to do.
Right.
And then I was, during this job, stressed, burnt out, stressed out, tapped out.
Yes, didn't know what to do.
But I'm going to work every day. I think at this point I had a little bit more like self-awareness. My daughter was growing, but I started to just sit and observe and write.
Okay.
I would write down what was happening with me. I would even write down like what I was seeing with parents and particularly moms again. And I knew I wanted to transition into having a private practice and having, you know, something where I was really working with families. And this is where it really led me. And I will say COVID, I think was the
Auntie Rona, yes.
Auntie Rona was like, okay, well, that's your future plan. Maybe let's make this your present
plan. Start right now.
Right. And I think that is for everybody. I think COVID, I think created a wake-up call.
Most definitely.
Maybe for things that you have always wanted to do, but just didn't know when to do it or how to do it.
You know what? That's so true, because I started this YouTube channel during COVID. It was like, you know, the time is now. So it's true. It's being self-aware, knowing what you want, and taking that space, taking the brave step into going into that space. So, wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you can relate to this, that if you probably look back, I'm sure there were stepping stones to lead you to this YouTube channel.
Almost
I'm
definitely.
sure there were, So there was practice that you were probably doing. So again, that self-awareness, that practice.
Yes.
And so you're practicing things and then just being patient, and then things come.
I agree. And even like you said, on the self-awareness, really, I started the channel and I love to read books. So I said, for the longest, I was just like, well, I'm not a YouTuber and I don't have that. I have a bubbly personality. What I'm saying is I thought I had to do it the way that I've seen other people do it. And it's just like, oh, Jasmine, you're a book nerd. And look, I got my book, everybody. Book nerd. And it's like, do what you enjoy doing, but I had to be self-aware, just like you said. And the practice is still now. Having people come on is still the space that I'm having for myself. Again, it's not easy, but even hearing you share your story and how it was threaded to you until today, it makes such good sense for people to be self-aware because until you're self-aware, like the conversations that we're having, we're just kind of hitting each other's mask, so to speak. I'm coming to my false self and I'm hitting you on your false self. And it's like, I'm not communicating with myself. So I'm not really truly communicating or relating to you. So I can imagine that you, in your journey as a therapist, as I've even heard you say that, and you're coming to this space too, that that entire process for you was something that was therapeutic for you in and of itself, as you explained.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you really get a chance to talk to any therapist, they'll tell you like their journey was different and their journey was their own experience.
You're unique.
And everyone is unique in their own way. And I think as it's really hard for anyone who's in school for therapy. Like when you're in school, it's hard to really know that yet.
Right.
Because you're just learning a lot of the theories and techniques and things. And then you find a way throughout your life to kind of add that all in. And,
okay.
And I think I only say that when you think about, so right now, you know, I am a therapist. I have a private practice here in Florida, but I also work with moms as a coach.
Yes.
And so
tell us about that.
Yeah, that led. So during, especially in the beginning of when COVID hit and everything, I had started seeing clients. I started kind of moving to starting to see clients just, like through telehealth. There's so many things right now where you can see a therapist via
virtually,
telehealth,
yes.
virtually. And so I started really working with that. But then I actually started working with a coaching program that really started me to work as a coach.
Oh, nice.
And think about that. And so because I was trying to figure out, I do, through my thing, I worked with families for several years, but I tend to have a very directive approach. And sometimes as a therapist, you do have to kind of step back a little bit, let all of that go in, like let them all kind of come to this realization on their own.
Understood. Okay.
But I think for moms, so what I took was that I took my experience as a mom, talking with a lot of moms. And then I realized there was a couple of things. Number one, self-care has been thrown out there a lot.
Yes.
So self-care. Talk about this. Moms, let's talk about self-care, which is great. I'm glad we're talking about self-care, because I think it doesn't come, there was a long time where we were just like, work hard. For
sure.
So now it's important that we take care of ourselves. But right now, a lot of times the self-care is, let's take a bubble bath. Let's get your nails done. Let's get your hair done.
Yes.
I think we're moving to things like maybe yoga or meditation, but I do think that self-care is bigger than that. And it's bigger than that when you're a mom. And so I started a community on Facebook called Snatchback Mommies. I really just wanted to start a free community where moms could really just kind of take back and claim their life again. Claim their joy.
Yes. So Snatchback, that's the name. Snatchback. Snatch it back. Snatch those edges. Snatch your life.
Yes. And it's when you think of snatching something, it's done forcefully. It's not done like, not like, let's take it.
It's like, no, take it.
No,
take it.
And that's what you have to do as a mom. Sometimes you do have to do something that is so bold and so big, because you're often running around, you're taking care of your kids, and if you're married, you're taking care of with your spouse, you are trying to be in your community, you're trying to be with your family, you're like an octopus, like trying to get every many different thing.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that way, where being bold and big, you mentioned this before we started this, it takes bravery. Like that, it takes bravery to do that, because when you have your hands and your time is spent so many different places, pausing as a mom, and I will not tell people how to do this, especially mothers. What I will say is, like, I acknowledge, like, there has to be some type of internal turmoil going on to say, like, okay, what do you mean self-care, or taking time for myself, or being self-aware? I don't have time for that. So what would you say for a mom, like when you're in your practice, in your coaching, what, not giving your information away, because if you want to be coached by her, we're going to have her information. So please don't think we're doing that. But what I will ask you to do is, from your experience and what you would possibly share with people who are interested in saying, hey, I need some help. Because what I did want to normalize, and the reason why I'm so grateful that you're here, because I wanted people to see a brown skinned person, woman, wife, professional, who has gone through, and who is growing through this process. In our community, I have even changed because I have had to become more aware. I don't believe it's brown and Black people who just don't know how to do this. There is a culture that was white supremacy, and I use that now because I have done the work, or I'm doing the work that helps me shift my belief. So if I have a belief system that a dominant group that doesn't look like me is the group that tells me what to do, my whole belief system is pulling me down and pulling me towards that lower self. So as brown people, as women who have been taught or socialized to, be a certain way, or to, there's this ideology that we are X, Y, and Z. What would you tell someone, like bringing that all in? Because it's a lot, but how would you say they could navigate that practically?
Okay. So there's so many things that could be in there. But my first question that I often give in my group is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Wow. That's good.
That's like number one. We talk a lot about legacy in Snatchback Mommies. So you need to be very clear. You need to be extremely clear about what your legacy is, meaning you have this child or these children. What do you want to pass down to these kids? And I don't mean financial.
Got it.
I don't mean a will and a trust and a 401k.
Thank you for
an IRA and a savings account or whatever. Those are great. They're great.
Yes.
I will tell you, it's very hard to get there unless you have a clear foundation of what your legacy is going to be. And a lot of that goes into how you're handling your day-to-day, your emotions, how you're navigating life. And if you're not kind of clear on what you want your child to then pick up and then take with you,
yes,
you're going to be lost. I'm sorry, again, it's that octopus. You're going to be like, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get this. And then who's going to see that? Your kids are going to see that. Your kids are going to see you going like, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get that, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Oh my gosh, get out of my face. I don't know, like there's so many.
Right. And then ultimately that becomes the legacy. That's what you're leaving if it's not intentionally done to decide and commit to what you want in the clarity of the moment, as opposed to, well, no, everything else is pulling on me and I can't. But what you said is, what do you want your legacy to be? That's stopping to say, okay, pause. And then there's a decision that has to be made from there. And then what you're saying, what I even saw in my peripheral, because I'm still looking at this camera and it's very unnatural. But when you decide, because one thing I'm not a mom, but one thing as a person, I have had multiple things going. But what you said, with a clear foundation and what I'm deciding. So if I'm saying yes to this part that's still pulling on me, it may be uncomfortable, but that's an automatic no. But when I am not clear, because that's a lot of times what I can honestly say I haven't done, I'm kind of still vacillating like, oh, well, maybe I can or can't, or maybe I should or shouldn't. But when I say no, I get on time, or I'm going to be on time for this appointment. So if you invite me to something at the same time, or even let's say like this, my realistic, okay, an hour later, now I have to put in like, am I going to really get there? So what you just shared is like, I think so groundbreaking and pivotal at the same time, practical for people to say, like asking that question, like taking that first step. So even if you feel overwhelmed, don't try to think about everything else right now. And that's actually how, if you don't mind, I want to have you wrap it up this way, because if you just ask the one question, I think a lot of times people get so overwhelmed because it's like, well, how am I going to be able to do everything else? But they didn't start with a foundation. So ask that question again to everyone listening, and give them like the Michelle version of, look, you can do this.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's, what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want your legacy to be that you run around not being clear about what you want out of your life? Or do you, and then pass that down to your kids who are not going to be clear about what they want out of their life? Or do you want to take a moment, sit, breathe, begin to write down what you want? And again, this is also not what your mom wanted, your dad wanted, your grandma wanted, your grandpa, your great grandma, because that's something we have to realize. You have to really that self-awareness about what you want for your legacy. Write that down, and that's your starting point.
Wow.
Join us at Snatchback Mommies. And then we can really help you just to build that legacy for yourself. But you got to start with you doing the work, which is writing it down first.
Wow.
And then click that button.
Click that button. Wow.
Click that button. Join us. We're free. We're a free community.
Yes,
you know,
please.
So we're free.
Please
we're a free
join.
community. We're on Facebook. So it's Snatchback Mommies. And you just put it in for a search. It's a group. You just join us.
Yes.
You have to be a mom, and be a mom who really is in search of your legacy of what you want for you and for your kids.
I love it. I'm sending this to my niece and other moms that I know. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to have all the information, Michelle's information in the description box below. But yes, please join moms, Snatchback Mommies. And if you're looking into family coaching, all her information will be in the description below, so that you can connect with someone who is looking to help people in their relational and emotional areas of their life. And you can do it. Ask that question for yourself, and then get some clarity and get that clear foundation. So I'm going to ask you, because I don't want to forget, please like, comment, share, and please subscribe. Again, I tried this I'm doing this as something that I wanted to do, to create a space. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on, helping me continue to look at this camera, and for doing the work. I honor you for doing the work, because it's not easy work doing, but what I have been telling myself is the work that's worth doing, because I know what life looks like the other way. So I want to thank you for coming. I am going to remind everyone the place and the space that I'm creating here and cultivating is for healthy relationship skills to be developed, for it to be learned, developed, practice, and ultimately thrive. So I want to normalize that healthy relationship skills. It takes work, but it's the work worth doing. So thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.